Good afternoon. I can't see you. Recognize some names, so let's get going. Thank you all for tuning into this. I'm going to talk to you this afternoon about digital impact and a new approach to technical change. I'm going to be flicking between screens, but I'll keep an eye on the chat, so jump in there. Hello, Rose. Hello, Abdul. Let's go. Before we start then, a quick intro to Apadmi. Apadmi are the UK's leading mobile technology agency. We're not in that building, but we're only a few blocks down the canal. We're at Erie Basin in the Anchorage on the 9th floor there. Although, like I imagine everybody here, we're mainly at home. I'm in my shed. Apadmi's story all started many years ago with the first smartphone, and we built apps for the very first smartphone. That was a long time ago. Today, we're at 162 of us, all extending that definition of mobile to, yes, apps, but everything around that, the full end-to-end ecosystem of voice, of websites. Half our team are server experts, and we get involved with clients of all shapes and sizes to help them push their business forward digitally, always usually with the mobile user in mind. So some of the brands that we're working with, you'll recognize there, Argos, B&M, SailGP. We can finally talk about the work that we're doing with Chelsea Football Club, which isn't around football, but it's around a new nutritional product they've launched called Blue Fuel, so check that out. And we can just start to talk about the work we're doing with Domino's as well. So we work with clients of all sizes. But before we get into what digital impact is, I wanted to take you back in time to 2019 AD. There's a reason why we talked about AD. He'll come on to that in a bit. And in 2019, England were good at cricket. We won the World Cup 2 days ago, a year ago, and people could touch each other. It's like that. So both things have changed. We're struggling against West Indies today, and we're all very distant. But also in that year, Dell released an index that they do occasionally called the Digital Transformation Index, and this was 2019's version. And what this does is it plots companies across the globe and how well they are transforming their businesses and which countries and companies are doing well, how fast they're moving in this like really fast moving world of digital. And there's a few stats I liked out of that report, or rather picked out. And 78% of the 4,600 companies they polled believed that digital transformation should be better in their organization. And 51% believed that they were going to struggle to meet changing customer demands. And a third of those businesses and organizations felt that they were going to be left behind because they weren't adapting quickly enough digitally. So I read a bit more and tried to dig into it. And if we were all in the same room, I'd shout out and ask you to make some suggestions, but that's hard over the screen. So the reasons that all of these businesses gave were the ones you'd expect. We're worried about security, we're worried about privacy, we haven't got the time or the skills or the budget, and so on and so on. And they gave to make lots of reasons why they weren't digitally transforming as quickly as they should be, and certainly in line with the fears they had around the market. But I reckon there's another reason for it. And this is a quote from JP Morgan. It's not often I like to talk about big city financiers, but I think this is a good quote. And he talks about 2 reasons for doing things. And a person has always got a good reason and a real reason for doing it. And the good reason that people aren't transforming quickly enough are all of those things that we just saw, budget, security, and what have you. But I think the real reason is something different. And when we go and look at digital transformation, maybe I'm giving you a clue. So this is how it's described in one of millions of web pages. The cultural organization and operational change of an organization, industry, or ecosystem, smart integration of processes, competencies, all levels, stage, strategic. It's quite a mouthful. And then when you start to look at graphs about what digital transformation looks like, that sort of stuff doesn't look easy. It's touching customer experience, product, service, distribution, digital fulfillment, risk, every part of the business. And then you look a bit more closely and you realize the people who are talking about this. So apologies to anybody from McKinsey on the call. I'm just using them by way of example. But digital transformation feels like a massive consultancy play, and one that's owned and driven by those big consultancies, the Accentures, the Deloittes, the McKinseys, and so on. And they have a time and a place and a role, of course. But I think that might be what's getting in the way, because that word transformation to me sounds slow, complex, like we're going to need a lot of people, a lot of meetings, a lot of discussion, and that it's going to be expensive. And that's what's led us on to this new idea of a different approach that Apadmi would like to call digital impact. And this is something we've been kicking around for 6 months now and taking to our clients. And I wanted to share that with everybody on the call, because we think it's a really powerful tool to get things going quickly. And when we talk about digital impact, what we mean in the simplest of terms is quick technology solutions that will drive significant benefit. And that's the key part to me, the significant benefit. We often hear of quick wins, let's do a quick win. More often than not, they are just quick wins. They're little ticks, and they're not making the big difference. Whereas if you follow this digital impact approach, I think we can get away quick technology solutions that will build and deliver significant benefit. And at the end of this short monologue, I'll give you a few tools of how I think you can implement them in the places that you work. But the principles behind digital impact, for me, the first thing is start small. Assemble a small team of what I've called big thinkers. So look around your organization and the partners that you work with and pull together the senior decision makers, those people who have the power and the knowledge to make things happen. We don't need a massive team of people here. This is about a few multidisciplined experts in the various parts of the organization, and lean on the partners that you've got. The second thing is, once you've got those people in a room, let's get together and identify what are the challenges to the business, what are the opportunities, what would we love to do if only we could, where might there be some new revenue opportunities, or how can we save money, and if there are problems, we've got the right people in the room here. Can we crash through those barriers? Can we change process? Can we do something different? Because if we can, we should. And if you get that right, for me, that starts to identify not only the challenges and opportunities, but quickly put in place the work streams that you can start quickly. So by picking off 2 or 3 or 5 short opportunities, prioritizing them, and then setting off the work streams, we can get going within days, not within 3 months of meetings and consultancies. And then the second, the next stage then is to prototype. Quickly get to those visual prototypes or even software prototypes to test the concept. Get them out to your colleagues or to your customers as fast as you can. Perhaps a friends and family launch to your most loyals, or if it's in the organization, perhaps one particular department, but get it out there quickly and start to prove that concept. Once the concept is proved, our methodology is that then that's that core team, that small team of experts and multidisciplined people delegate the solution to a wider team to roll out. And then they move on to the next challenge, move on to the next department, move on to the next process. And when you get this right, what you start to do is engender a sense of entrepreneurialism and can-do attitude through the organization, picking off those important, impactful areas where digital change can make a significant commercial or organizational benefit quickly, and extending it like that, which for me is the absolute opposite of all spending ages on a 3-year roadmap of how you're going to transition and transform the whole organization. So why are we getting really excited about this now? Well, I said at the beginning it was 2019 AD. I think last year was 1 year BC, 1 year before COVID. Everything has changed since then. And the need and the importance and the demand for digital impact, I think, is stronger than ever. Everything you read in the news is about organizations having to behave differently. The NHS, digital is at its spine. Retail, which we'll come on to in a second, it's digital solutions that they're leaning on. So for me, this impact piece has to happen now. And what I want to do is explain how we can make it happen. And some examples of people who have moved really quickly and are doing it are in the retail sector here. So Aldi for years have resisted e-commerce. It's not something that they did. But as soon as COVID struck, they were able to get out a box of essentials for vulnerable and self-isolating people, ordered and fulfilled online. I mean, that's the sort of thing would have taken months of decisions and possibly years of implementation. They got that out within about 3 weeks. Morrison's were even faster. They partnered up with Deliveroo to be able to offer delivery. So the rules are shifting. They're not putting in the big logistics. They're like looking to the partners they've got. Let's get Deliveroo to put it out. This little screen on the right is a supermarket checker app. So a guy down in Kent quickly built something within a week or two of lockdown to tell people how long the queues were at their local supermarket. A neat idea, quickly delivered. And it's happening in the States as well. You know, all the supermarkets there are finding new digital ways to deliver products when they couldn't do it previously. Kroger, one of the huge grocers over there, have actually converted one of their stores so that it was a pickup only service because they didn't have the big warehouse or logistics capability. If they could do the digital front end, they could just turn one of their big stores into a warehouse. Really smart, really fast thinking. And John Lewis, realizing that customer service is at the heart of everything that they did, enabled people to book online nursery advice because people go there when they're having babies, usually the first one, and they want that reassurance that the cot and the products they're choosing are the right ones. So John Lewis quickly flipped that into virtual nursery advice, like everything else, probably on Zoom. I'm just gonna have a quick look at the chat and see what's going on, if anything. Okay. So how do you make it happen? How do I make this not an academic lesson and give you something tangible to think about? So I reckon the best place to start is with a 2-hour digital impact workshop. And this is similar to how we would run it with our clients, and spend the first hour with those stakeholders identifying the problems and then prioritizing the problems, and then spend the second hour thinking about the art of the possible, identifying the solutions, and then prioritizing the solutions. So pretty classic convergent thinking, but you can do this and you can get somewhere quickly if you follow the next steps. So what we like to use is t-shirt sizes, because 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months it gets too detailed. We want people to think in big, loose sort of t-shirt sizes. So the first thing we do is ask the stakeholders to identify the problems in their business in the short, medium, and long term. So this was a retail example, and you can imagine there's a whole list of things start coming out: queues, hygiene, contactless payments. We need to manage in-store distancing now. We can't open without it. And then looking at some of the longer term things, which are perhaps not reaction to COVID, but just reaction to the market. We've been talking about reserve and collect. We want to get that going. We need to work on our omni-channel experience for our customers. So the first thing is get all of those ideas out there, get people saying these are the challenges and the things that we want to do. And then the next stage is to challenge that audience and say, okay, let's put some goals against those. Let's see what does good look like. So an easy one for queues would be the goal would be to flatten the curve, to use a pun, to not have those peaks at 5 o'clock when everybody's queuing to get in the store, to distribute our footfall through the day. So with some queue management, and to try and set some actionable what good looks like against each of those problems. Again, short, medium, and long term. And then those asterisks that you'll see against it in that workshop, and you can do all of this online. In that workshop, ask them to prioritize those goals, work the team hard and say, okay, we've got lots of stuff here. What are the key priorities? Because if we can get to a key priority list of 10, 15 tasks, we can go to the next stage. And the next stage is what I call the digital impact equation, the digital impact part of it all. And this is a really simple equation. It's not scientific. I made it up in the office. There's probably holes in it, but the essence of this is really strong. So the digital impact equation looks like this. What's the business benefit on a 1 to 10? what's the tech feasibility, 1 to 10, with 10 being easy, and what's the time to implement, with 1 being quick and 5 being slow. So business benefit times tech feasibility divided by time to implement. And that then gives you a really rough digital impact figure. And that business benefit is the key part in here. You know, how big a change is it going to be? How easy is it to do? How quickly can we do it? And then you get to this digital impact score. So list those opportunities out, and in the workshop, go through that. Mark the benefit 1 to 10, mark the feasibility 1 to 10, and mark the time 1 to 5. And it's really, really useful. We've done this a number of times now, and quite quickly you get to a prioritized list of stuff that's achievable, impactful, and that you can make fast headway on. And so it's no more complicated than that. That's my suggestion of how to unlock digital impact in the business. Stop calling it digital transformation. Change the mindset that this is a really long and arduous process. Pick off a handful of achievable tasks and get going. Because once you get going, and once you launch, and once you prove that the processes can be beaten, that you can get things live, it really does build that sort of can-do attitude within the organization, and it becomes infectious. And the last point before we open up for questions I want to leave you with is, we've just seen through COVID that when organizations have to work quickly, they can and do work quickly. This idea of digital impact is a way to do it at any time. So that's it from me in terms of talking. I'd love to hear any questions or chat to you now. I'll come out to the screen so I can see you. So has anybody got any questions? Did anybody think that was useful? Go ahead, Rory. Okay, whilst we're talking for Rory, that's interesting, Abdul. What about the people side of the equation? I guess that comes into the feasibility for me. So there's clearly there's 2 parts. There's the winning the hearts and minds of the people. So that's cascading that information in a positive way. But the other side of the people is, I suppose, they're part of the feasibility. Have you got the skills and the will of people to work this way? And I think that's why doing it in a bite-sized way and proving the concept works with 1 or 2 things is the way to win the hearts and minds of the people. That's kind of behind the essence of it. If you look at some of those big things that have failed, it's because they've not managed the change management well. If you pick off things and prove that it works and it can be done, typically people will follow. Rory, you say about getting started ASAP. Okay, Rory's worrying about if he starts really quickly and gets an MVP out there, will somebody else copy his idea before it reaches its full potential? Well, there's always a risk of that, but I've been doing this for a while now, and I think the biggest risk of all is of not doing it. I think loads of people talk about it, but I don't think many people actually do it, and I don't think many people will pinch your idea. And also, if you're out there quickly and it's something great, they're playing catch up already. I'm more than happy to, if you want to send me a side note outside of here and discuss that, I'm more than happy to give you a bit more there, Rory. But my advice would be, unless it's something absolutely unique, somebody else has probably already thought of it and not done it. I think getting out there and doing it is the best way to do that. I can't think of many examples where ideas have been stolen and it's gone wrong for the person who did it. Anybody else? I think we've got 5 minutes, I think. Yeah, Rory, by all means, give me a shout. And yeah, Marcus Hadfield on LinkedIn, and I will get back to you. Might not be this afternoon, but I'll get back to you. Whilst you wait for Katie. whilst Casey's typing, I should say Apadmi also have a ventures arm. I'm not. That's not a sell to pitch your idea, Rory, but we see a number of people asking these questions, and a number of people worried about NDAs and stuff. And in the 3 or 4 years that we've been doing it, we've never seen anyone's idea stolen in that sense. We've seen good ideas not come to market. I just think be bold and go for it. Laura wants me to tell you about the other work Apadmi are doing. I can in 2 minutes, but I think I should answer Casey's. What about businesses who've been forced by COVID to become digital? What is your advice for non-tech owners? A simple, non-scary step to get going. That's a great question. I think the best advice would be to start simply and not to try and do everything, to try and find out what are the 1 or 2 key things that are really, really important to your success. So a good example is in the hospitality sector at the moment. Hospitality, lots of great bars and restaurants aren't particularly digital, and they're suddenly presented with really big challenges. How do they get people in and out of their premises safely? Perhaps how do they open up to doing home delivery? The recommendation there would be to really work out what is the biggest problem and fix that one first. Don't try and fix everything, because I think that gives both confidence and it also minimizes the risk of anything going wrong. So I would start simply. And also the other thing is, don't be afraid to, actually this is really good advice, don't, even if I do say so, sorry. Don't be afraid to borrow what's already out there. I think a great example there is Morrison's. You know, a massive supermarket used Deliveroo to deliver their goods. They wanted to get going, and it was safer and quicker for them to use something that was already there. I think that's a good example for non-technical buildings. You don't have to build it yourself. It's often best to start using something that's already there. It might be a little bit expensive to begin with. If you're using Shopify or something, you might be giving away a bit more margin than you'd like, but Shopify is really good, it's really robust, and it's done all the hard work for you. So in terms of getting confident with perhaps online shopping, use the stuff that's out there, because everybody's made the mistakes before you. Hope that helps. Any more? So as Laura asked what Apadmi are doing, we are doing some work in the hospitality area. There's some interesting stuff that we're doing there, helping hospitality businesses get digital. So we're doing some stuff there, which we'll talk about in a week or two. At the other end of it, we're helping football clubs find new revenue streams. So we're doing some work with Chelsea. So even the biggest organizations are trying to find new ways to make money from there in this strange time. So Chelsea, we've just launched a nutritional food app for Chelsea. They've launched some food supplements using all of their team doctors, and we've helped them with the app, which helps people plan their nutrition. That's called Blue Fuel, so have a look at that. I'm trying to think of other things for non-tech businesses. Perhaps don't always look to your competitors, look to other people in different sectors. So that's an interesting way to think about it. There's some really good technical work that gets done in other sectors that businesses can pick up on. And I suppose the final thought is, it's been so amazingly adaptable. We're all working now and answering questions and asking questions in a way that we never thought we'd have done previously. It's really amazing how quickly customers and employees do change when they have to change. It feels quite supportive at the moment. I think it's okay to launch something that might not be perfect, so long as it works. I think customers and employees alike have more patience, and they understand that everybody's doing it differently. And so it's a good time to do it. I think my advice for those non-tech businesses, actually now's the time to do it. You've got to do it. Your customers will expect it. Do it now before everything goes back to whatever normal is. That's my final point. Unless anybody's got anything else. to the Manchester Digital people, I guess I just say goodbye and ring off now. If that's not it, shout quickly. But otherwise, everybody, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you again, hopefully in 3D. Cheers all, bye.